Tori, welcome to the Lessons of a Lashpreneur show. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so tell the listeners a little bit about you, where you're located, how long you've been lashing and lashpreneuring. Actually,
your
business is not lashing. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I live in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I am now 4 years into my company, and I do sugaring, but I have found your episodes very helpful. I really have, like, all the way down to what not to do and what to do with policies and clients. But the thing is, I just don't put myself in place with it. So,
right. 100%. Yeah. And I think this is going to be a great episode because I do get questions a lot from other beauty service providers that find me, but they're like, is your programs or whatever, is that relevant? The way that I always pitch that is I teach business, no matter what. It applies to any business, any service-based business. The examples I give are lashes. So if you can take these podcast episodes or what I post on social media and you find value in how to apply it to your sugaring or hairstyling or whatever business, then our paid programs are no different. And likely most of our communities are blend where they offer multiple services anyway. So you have that support as well. So awesome. I'm excited. Okay. So Tori gave us a long laundry list of various different things that she wanted to talk about. The one that we kind of discussed in the pre-interview was that I think is going to be kind of what I call a domino decision or a domino coaching, because what's going to happen is we're going to get clarity on why this one thing is happening, and it will start to make sense how that's showing up in all of these other areas as well. So you ready to dive in?
Yep. I already know what it is.
Yep. Okay. So this particular one that we're going to work on is understanding why I block days off and keeping with them. I always book days off to either give myself a break or to do office work. Yet I see the day blocked off. A client will come in and ask to have an appointment on that day. And then I unopen it and I just start stacking up more work. And so office work gets behind, admin work gets behind. You're gaining weight because you don't prioritize self-care, and you're starting to feel burnt out after 4 years.
Yeah.
Can we all resonate? Raise hands in the podcast world if you can relate, because I think that's totally common. So why is that, Tori? Why do you block off? Let's just even go with today, because right now Tori's in the middle of a move. Today is a day off to try and get moving stuff done, and she still booked a client tonight. So why did you do that? What thoughts went through your head when you're like, no, okay, I'll throw a client in at the end of the day?
You know, I used to be so worried about Yelp reviews. Like, I prided myself in 4 years of 5 stars all this time, but now I'm just like I even, actually, to get personal, I even had I think it was a year and a half ago, a paramedic in my garage with me telling me to take me to the hospital because they thought I was going to have a heart attack. And I just push and push and push. And I care more about like what other people say versus what my own opinion is or what my rules are. Okay. So probably social media.
Okay. So you can draw a boundary at any point during this conversation, because I know it is more public. Usually a lot of the conversations we have that kind of start to dive into this stuff are inside of our community or one-on-one. So if at any point you're like, I don't really want to dive into that, I just want to give you permission to like not, I may take you places that you're like, they're gonna draw. I
am such an open book, and I love to help other people. I don't even mind.
Yeah. And honestly, this conversation, I have this regularly because you are not alone in this. And so what I want to ask you is, whose approval did you not get as a child? Mom or dad?
Mom, definitely.
Right. So
well,
it's usually
approval, like, or just like, I don't know. She wasn't there.
Okay. Yeah. So usually what ends up happening is that there's some sort of approval, love, or attention we want as children that we're not getting from a caregiver, that we then as children make up assumptions about the world because we have no other way of, we don't have enough development and awareness about the world to know that it's not us.
Yeah.
Right. So you said your mom she was absent. She wasn't there.
She was there, but she was like always on something. And then my dad lived like hours away. So I literally raised myself and my brother and my sister.
Okay. So automatically as children, we're not taught what self-care is. And when we're put in parenting roles as children, we don't know to prioritize our own rest and our own well-being because we don't have that choice.
Yeah.
Right. We have nobody there to guide us to be like, look, you don't need to take on this responsibility. It's not yours to take on. Right. And so where this really becomes detrimental is when we get to be adults and we still operate with that same mindset and we work ourselves to the bone because we're trying to get something that we're trying to get a result out of our business in this particular instance, that really it's what we needed as kids that we weren't getting. So if we look at, and I just did a recent podcast episode on this, on the codependency of your business, getting your emotional needs met by your business and how unhealthy that is for your business and for you. Did you listen to that episode?
If you knew my life for the last month, I have no time for even music.
That's going to be a great episode for you to make the time to listen to. You are not a victim of your time. You are 100% in control of your time. Do you believe that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So when we fill up our time with things like work, we're getting a reward out of it. Even working ourselves to the bone to where a paramedic is like, you're not okay, we're getting a reward out of that. And in some ways it's avoidance of really painful things like I don't have worth or value if I am not doing actions, right? If I am not building a business, if things are calm and quiet, that means that something's wrong, right? We get addicted to the chaos and the hustle, which is why I hate the hustle culture, right? It's all of a sudden we tie our internal worth and value to an external result. Now, given the pandemic, how much control of something outside of us do we have? I think a lot of people became very aware of the fact that they have no control out of anything that's external to them, right? You couldn't.
I think that was like another issue too, because living in Las Vegas, like we never really shut down.
Yeah.
And during the pandemic, I doubled my income from the previous year.
So right, you started taking on all the clients for the other lash artists who were like shutting their doors and you're like, sure, come here. We're open 24/7.
No, I wish. No, I did. I did shut down, but we were only shut down for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then so many people were scared of it, where I was just like, well, if it's my time, it's my time. And people just flooded the doors. And now it's to the point where I'm even making more money than the previous during that year.
Yeah.
And
so you said you're making more money. So is your drive to be successful not based on money? Because you are already successful. So you don't need any more business. You don't need to work anymore.
Yeah, I hit 6 figures, I think, like after a year and a half.
Yeah.
And it's not money. I have so much, like, so many goals that I want to hit, I feel like, with opening up, all these businesses that help other people.
Why do you want that? Say more.
Why do I want to help other people?
Yeah. Why do you want to have more businesses that help other people? Why is that important?
Because I know how my life was growing up and I struggled, and I know that some people just need that like little nudge of like, hey, it's okay. This happened in your past, but we could get you there and you're going to be awesome at it. You're not stuck here. And a lot of people don't see that. And I know I can help people with my story get to that point and then them take on their own things. Yeah,
that's beautiful. So impact is really important to you. It's a high value to you, impacting other people's lives. I love that. I absolutely 100% resonate with that. So why have multiple businesses that do that, or why have a big business that does that? I mean, you could do that for free, essentially.
I just feel like, okay, do you know who, like, have you heard of 10X or the Cardone, like, foundation and stuff?
I don't, but for those that don't either, explain what it is, just kind of a brief synopsis.
He is just like, okay, so there is this show, it's called Undercover Billionaire. And
Okay.
so this very wealthy man goes into a city and he sees if the American dream is dead or if people just don't want to work. And if you could build $1 million company within 90 days. And this man does it. He works hard and he is so driven and gives amazing advice and does all these tours all over the world. If I could get people to listen to me like people listen to him, I have no doubt in myself at all because I know how my struggles are and I know a lot of people will actually listen. And every time I have clients that come in that are students or that are already licensed in this field, I tell them a little bit about my story and that I do certifying in sugaring. And either some of them cry or they're just like, I believe in you, you're going to go this full way. Or I don't know. The bigger the company, the more people I could help is how I feel.
Even the more income, the more impact. And
No.
vice versa, I believe to be true. The more impact, the more income, right? Like money is it's not prioritizing money first, it's
Yeah.
prioritizing the impact first and money will come,
Yeah.
right? I mean, if you choose to see it that way. If you want to look at the other way, it's fine. I just don't know that it'll serve you as much because you'll be chasing the dollar and that will distract you from the impact that you could be creating.
No, I get happier when I see a smile on someone's face, like, but not because like of something for a second, like for a lifetime. Like,
yeah, that you've changed someone's life.
yeah.
Yeah, for the better. So how do different business models get you to that desired result faster?
Well, see, right now with overworking, and I'm never going to figure that out. Like, I don't
I would
even have
agree.
time to figure out how to hire people. Like,
Yeah.
my social media, I haven't even posted since December.
But you don't, I mean, in some ways, it doesn't necessarily, I mean, I'm never a fan of stopping marketing, but you don't have the capacity to take on any more people. You actually need to pull back on people. So why haven't you raised your prices and dropped clients?
I did raise my prices last year.
Okay, and how many clients dropped off?
None.
Okay, so that to me, the data, just not making meaning out of it, the data is telling me you didn't do a big enough price increase. Right, so why not do another one?
I just I always value my company. Like, okay, what am I willing to spend? Like, my number one service is a Brazilian. And I got to the point where I specialize in 5 to 7 minute Brazilians and sugaring. And so my clients are just like bam, 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 bam. I don't know if I personally would spend more than $65.
Interesting. I understand you are not your client.
True.
I don't know that I would work as much as you're working, but that doesn't mean that I would dictate what you would spend with me. You know, you need to get your head out of your client's wallet. That's not serving your business because the business owner, the revenue generator is burnt out, risking injury. That's not a stable business, right? So what happens if you keep up this pace for the next 6 months, year, 2 years, 3 years? What does that look like for you if you stay the same?
I won't be working at all.
Right. So all of a sudden, all of it goes away, all income, all impact. So there is a cost, a significant cost for the beliefs that you have. So here's where I wanted, like, what's helped me in piecing apart this codependency on a business and having your emotional needs met by your business is detaching from the meaning or results about me that could be made from my business. So if I'm in high demand, that means people want me, I'm liked, I'm desired. That's the wrong meaning to put on that, right? Because then all of a sudden our emotional needs are being met by this amount of demand when that is counterproductive. And it's also detrimental to your long-term growth in the business because your needs need to be met by you, not your business, because you can't make informed decisions on the business and what the business needs when it goes directly against the emotional needs you're getting met. So if I say raise your prices because demand dictates price, and you have so much demand that it's actually self-sabotaging you not to raise your prices, then you're risking people not liking that and the price increase and saying she's too expensive, she's greedy, blah, 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 whatever meaning they're going to say. And now all of a sudden you're not getting that emotional need met. And you're stuck in this spot where you're working too much, but you're getting this high off of the people pleasing and people liking you. Do you see where that's like, you're basically the narcissist of your business? It's toxic.
Yeah.
You're self-sabotaging your goals, your results, the impact you could have, because you personally are getting needs met by your business, emotional needs. Because if we just look at the data and what the data says, and we make decisions based on the data, we can start to untangle our worth, our value when it comes to the business, right? And so if we look at, you know, I want to, as the business owner, in order for me to have the business that I want to have and reach the goals of impact that I want to have, I need to work no more than 6 hours a day, 4 days a week, and I'm going to spend one full day doing admin, marketing, the growth, working on the business, not just in it. Yeah. Right? So if that's the goal we work towards, what price point do you then need to be at in order to drop the number of clients you need to drop to be at that level of having time freedom? Because right now, you don't have an issue with money coming in. You have an issue with time. Time is the scarce resource. Time is of the most value. You don't have enough supply of time to meet the demand. So therefore, your time is more valuable. So I don't care whether you would pay your price point or not. You are not your client. Because staying stuck in the price point that you're at, you just told me you will not have a business in 1 to 3 years if you don't change something. And raising your prices to drop clients is the quickest, easiest way to do that. There's a bunch of different ways you could do that. You could just set your operating hours to be 6 hours a day and not take any more clients. But if there's more money to be made, why not make the same amount but work less?
Yeah, like even so tomorrow, yesterday 100% booked, tomorrow 100% booked, Saturday 100% booked from open to close. And next week, like, so we just got approved for this house, so we're moving out, and I have these clients on my move-in day, and I was like, hey, do you mind moving? And like now I'm even staying 3 hours after when I'm supposed to be off next week just to take these other clients. And I know I'm already going to open up like those gaps so I could try just being fully booked back to back. But
why?
I don't know.
So when you have this scenario where you're like, I'm moving both my salon location, my house, and what I need is time, why do you self-sabotage to book more time so that you're stressed and chaotic and don't have enough time? What thought comes through your head when you're like, I'll just put that client there? Because if I don't, what?
I just think it's Yelp. Like I hate Yelp with a passion, because people nowadays, they will just say the rudest things when they don't get their way. They call, you don't answer, and it's just a 1 star. And I don't want that.
Okay, so a 1-star review comes in because you couldn't answer the phone. What does that matter to you?
I just don't want people pushing my company to the side because my stars are lower. Like it sounds so silly, but like I think I'm one of the only like top few with 5 stars in what I do in Vegas. So I would like to keep that reputation. And I have a lot of people that come from my competitors, and then they come meet me and they're just like, wow, this was such a better experience than the last place. So.
Okay, sorry, we'll have to cut that little section out because my AirPods just died, but
they
heard what you said. All right. So can I give you a little bit of tough love?
Yes. I love it.
Your ego is driving those decisions.
Okay.
Do you recognize that? Or, I mean, it's okay if you don't, because we can walk through
I
examples.
don't.
Your ego is being fed by, I'm the only one with this many 5-star reviews. So we could look at the ego and also your emotional needs kind of being in the same. Because your body and your well-being is not being of that demand. And you said the reason why you take that demand is because you don't want a bad Yelp review. Because what does having a bad Yelp review mean? People wouldn't choose my business. But what I heard there, reading through the lines, is people wouldn't choose me. Yelp is one aspect of marketing. It is not the only marketing channel. You also have so much demand that you won't have the time to be able to create the structure and processes in your business to build out a booking system where somebody can book on their own and not have to call, or to be able to train and hire a receptionist to be able to take the call from Yelp so that you don't have those 1-star reviews based off of somebody calling. You can also build out processes that if somebody gives a bad review on Yelp, that you have processes in place that protect the business, that are communicated to the client. And if a client's crazy and leaves a bad review, you just list the facts of what happened. Shelly, you showed up to your appointment 15 minutes late. It's only a 15-minute appointment. You agreed that you would show up 5 minutes before. I'm sorry, an adult holding an adult accountable. Go ahead, leave your 1-star review. We tried to offer you a discount for you being late, so we extended the olive branch, but you didn't want to take us up on that. You were already upset about it. So
I think that's one of the issues too, is like, I think there is one, so I have 2 1-stars, and I think it's the 1-star that really traumatized me, where I'm just like, I don't want that to happen again. Cause like once it hit my Yelp, I started crying, and I was like out in public, and the girl tried telling me that I was racist, and maybe because she was a Black woman that I treated her differently, when that wasn't the case. And I did respond to her, and I was just, I'm really disappointed by a false review, when the fact that, you were 40 minutes late to your first appointment, then you no call, no showed on me 3 times. And before I declined your 5th appointment, I texted you first explaining why before I even declined it.
Yeah.
Because now I approve or decline versus just letting anybody book online.
Yeah.
But that
which
was
is more
just
time consuming for you as well, when time is the most valuable asset you have. That takes a lot of time to approve or decline. Let me ask you this. Do you believe everything that woman said in her 1-star review?
No.
Then why are you letting it drive your decisions?
Because I don't want people to think I'm racist, especially in a time like this.
What does it, okay, so, and I'm going to handle this with care. And I went through a very similar experience during the Black Lives Matter and being a public figure and online. Somebody went on a tirade about that, about me.
Mm-hmm.
I know whether I'm racist or not is not somebody else's job or opinion to determine about me. I don't believe I am. If I was, that would be my work to do, whether somebody else believed that about me or not.
Yeah.
And so when, and we can look at this as the pandemic as a whole, when you squeeze an orange, what comes out? Orange juice.
Well, yes.
When something gets squeezed, what's inside comes out. So we can look at this negative review, and we can look at our processes, and we can take, again, just data. Reviews are data. She is giving me feedback that she felt she had no other avenue to share her grievances with. And I can look at my process and see if there's anything I want to change about how we handled that situation, how we want to optimize our process, maybe a gap that we missed in communicating something to the client. And if I look at the bad review and I think the data points are telling me that, you know what, for 99% of clients, our process works just fine. She's the outlier. We're not going to do anything to change our process. The feedback was not valuable to us, but it doesn't mean anything about me. Now, she used very charged language, right? That has a lot of emotional meaning to it, but you took her opinion higher and put a higher value on it than your own. You know, And you determined yourself that the conversation and the interaction with her had nothing to do with her race. And you can also reflect back, was there something I said that might have been misconstrued or taken the wrong way? And you can take ownership of your responsibility in it. You cannot determine and dictate what somebody else does. And that likely is her experiences, her life experiences, where she's felt oppressed and judged and stereotyped and all of that coming in and being placed in the wrong place. So all of a sudden you become the punching bag for her own internal struggle. But you took that on, that you were responsible for her emotional state. Because your intention at any point, was your intention ever to hurt her based on her race? I'm asking.
Oh, was it? Oh, no.
Then why would you ever treat what she says with that meaning behind it? Because your intention was never to do that. It doesn't matter if she took it that way. Yes, we can reflect back on what we said. We can reflect back on maybe improving how we communicate when it comes to, but that wasn't even on your radar is what it sounds like. So all of a sudden we get this bad review, race is brought up, which is a very triggering conversation. And we start to feel attacked. Our fight or flight kicks in. Was your heart racing?
I don't even remember. I just started crying.
Yeah. Okay. So fight or flight again, like our racing thoughts, emotions. Usually I feel like I need to run or like get energy out. That's my flight. Right. And so it's all of a sudden we feel threatened and, oh my God, if other people see this, what are they going to think? And this is going to have a catastrophic effect on my business. And people are going to read this and they're going to start believing it. And then what's going to happen to my business? But if you can't look at yourself and identify the intention that you had every step along the way, and you can't be like, oh, wow, that's really unfortunate she took it that way because that was not my intention. I want to respond respectfully and with tact, right? Because you can respond to that review and go, wow, we are reviewing our policies and looking at that interaction to see where we might improve in the future, because in no uncertain terms did we ever consider your race as a part of what happened. Here from our process standpoint is what happened, right? Because then when you respond as the business in that way, people reading the reviews will see her 1-star review, and then they'll read the business owner's response and then make a judgment call. But very rarely when we get people who get bad reviews, are we ever at the point where we can save that review? Because usually that person will have tried to communicate their unhappiness or their disappointment. And we've already lost that client for the most part. What we do want to respond to in those reviews, especially on Yelp, is a way in which still markets our business. Yeah. And that's how we respond. We don't get defensive. We don't start calling them names. We don't go down to their level. We just state the facts of our process and where they chose not to follow up, because you'd probably have some sort of customer satisfaction policy. Like if somebody was really unhappy with the results and they told you at the time of the appointment, you want to make it right.
Yeah.
Right. And
I
so
have 72 hours.
Yeah. Like Lashpreneur recommends, right? But your whole goal is to make somebody happy with the service, right? But if they never receive the service because the phone call didn't get picked up, then it's not the right client. Yeah. You know, if you're a solo business owner and you don't have the ability to be able to be on the phone 24/7 as soon as somebody calls, it's not the right fit. You can have auto reminders, you can have voicemails that communicate, calls will be returned within 72 hours. If you need an appointment sooner, go online and book, right? We can look at our process and see where there's opportunities to grow, but we're certainly not going to take ownership for somebody else's emotional state that has nothing to do with what actually happened.
Yeah. And then going back to what you said, like even some of the clients that I have had multiple times, like just the other day, I had a client that called and I couldn't answer. So then she called again, couldn't answer. So she called again. And when I answered, and then I saw her the other day, she was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you were the service provider, the receptionist, and this. And I was like, girl, I do it all.
Yep. So, and that's a beautiful way to look at people's perceptions. Her perception was she was calling a business that had multiple people working there and that she could call and get her needs met. But when she found out that it was just you and you were busy, you weren't trying to ignore her, you were like doing work. Yeah. All of a sudden she was like, I'm sorry. somebody else's perception of you is not your responsibility. And that's something that I really need you to, it's going to be out of time for today, but that's going to be your biggest thing that you need to accept and believe. It is not your responsibility to make everybody like you. In fact, I would say you're more successful in life and probably more looked up to in life when you don't care about everybody's opinions. Because how could you possibly please everyone?
See, and even with that, like, so and I know you have to go, so whenever, just tell me to stop. But even the other day, we held interviews to try getting me more work, or like help so that I could do my work and stuff in the office. And one of the girls I interviewed, she was like, "Oh yeah, do you know so and so at this school?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, that name doesn't sound familiar." She was like, "Yeah, you're talked about all over our school. You're on our boards at school." And I was just like, "What?" And my boyfriend's like, "Oh yeah, look at you over here, like hot shit." And I was just like, "But I don't know it. Like, all these schools are calling me and asking me to come in and teach, and people
You
are
choose
talking."
not to see that value in yourself. Even when
And
you do
I've
get
noticed that a lot.
even when you do get the external validation, if you don't see that in yourself, it doesn't matter how many accolades, awards, fans you have. I mean, look at celebrities. They are very aware that they are known, yet a lot of them use drugs and, you know, have miserable lives or commit suicide. Yet they're the most beloved people because they're not internally okay with themselves. And that is ultimately what you're facing and you're struggling with, is you're not happy with yourself. So you are, instead of healing yourself, facing those demons and getting them out of your life, you are seeking external validation from a lot of different areas. That if I just did more, if I just worked more, if I just hired more team members, if I just did something external to me, I will start to feel internally more worthy and deserving of what I have. But Tori, you are worthy and deserving of what you have, irregardless of what happens external to you. Because here's the thing, if you keep running yourself the way that you are, you're going to burn out and you're going to close your business. And then all of a sudden, there goes your drug. The drug that makes you feel worthy and deserving, that's giving you that external validation. Now you're just left with you, and that's going to be a dark place to be in. We want to get you away from that first. So my recommendation, and I am doing this work myself, is to look into what's called inner child work. Sometimes it's called shadow work. Some therapy would be good. But I think healing some of those wounds and the responsibilities and the unfairness that you experienced as a child, getting that worked through first and healed before making any forward progress in your business, is going to get you more where you want to be than any level of hiring, teaching, growth, money, clients is going to get you. Now, what resistance comes up when I say that? Because that's the hard work, right?
Okay, you're gonna hate me. You're gonna be like,
I doubt
"How did
it.
I do this 40 minutes with her?" Time. I'm like, when am I gonna fit this in?